Now, Myanmar's military junta has brought new corruption cases against deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi and other former officials from her government. According to the state media, the cases are related to alleged misuse of land for a charitable foundation which Suu Kyi chaired, as well as earlier charges of accepting money and gold. These are the latest in a series of charges brought against her. Suu Kyi's supporters say the cases are politically motivated. She was overthrown in a military coup on February the 1st. The army accused the ruling party of voter fraud in the November elections, a charge rejected by the previous election commission and international monitors. Dozens of people have been killed and hundreds of others have been jailed during protests against the military junta. Phil Robertson is the Deputy Asia Director at Human Rights Watch and joins us now out of Bangkok. Phil, welcome. What is Human Rights Watch's assessment of the latest development in Myanmar regarding the government that has been ousted, as well as the demands of the people, and let's not forget the minority Rohingya Muslims as well?
Our assessment right now is that the Myanmar military is using excessive and lethal force in a systematic way against peaceful protesters all across the country. This is an ongoing human rights disaster, and the government is trying to cover this up with games being played, like charging Aung San Suu Kyi with various different criminal charges. These are charges that, in our view, are politically motivated, that really don't have much evidence to stand on, and will ultimately be heard by courts which are not independent. That the government, the military junta to be exact, controls these courts and essentially will dictate what the courts come out with in terms of a final verdict. Quite clearly, there is a plan afoot by the Myanmar military junta to put Aung San Suu Kyi and her compatriots back behind bars, and possibly quite clearly, I think, to ban the National League for Democracy political party, because the military has realized that every time Aung San Suu Kyi and the NLD are on the ballot in Myanmar, both in 2015 and in 2020, that they win the election in a landslide. And the military, I think, is trying to figure out how can they redo the election in 2020, a year or so from now, that will allow them to manipulate the system, to control the rules, and to try to fix the outcome to favor a pro-military party.
I feel, what kind of action is Human Rights Watch calling from the international community to perhaps, help the Myanmar bring back that whatever democracy there was in the country?
Well, we're calling for action on an international arms embargo against the Myanmar military and police. This is a military that is using arms to kill their own people. We're now almost to 900 people shot down in the streets since the February 1st coup started. Well over 5,000 people have been arrested, and there should be no one selling any sort of arms to this military regime. This is something that is now being considered at the UN General Assembly. There is a negotiation going on for a resolution sponsored by Liechtenstein and supported by many governments around the world to come up with a resolution that includes that demand for an arms embargo. But unfortunately, there's been resistance by some of Myanmar's neighbors who somehow feel that it's not appropriate to pressure the government so strongly. And our view is that it's time to really demand that anyone who is providing arms to Myanmar stop. And that means Russia, that means China, but it means other countries like Israel, like Pakistan, like India. There are a number of governments who should be called out for providing arms to a very bloody-minded military, which is using them to suppress the people, really treating the people of the country as enemy combatants to be subdued rather than people who have civil and political rights who should be listened to.
Okay, Phil, thank you very much indeed for your contribution. Phil Robertson there, the Deputy Asia Director at Human Rights Watch, joining us live out of Bangkok.